Good morning. Okay, let's see if we can get this to work this time. I think maybe Facebook is going to show the right way this time. Who knows? I give up. You can rotate your phone if you need to. All right, well, welcome everyone to our Sunday morning pandemic yoga class. Today's class is an all levels class. I really want everyone to be able to participate. So it really is a much slower, calmer type of class where we can get a little bit more into alignment and things like that. Just a reminder, I am not there with you, so I don't know what you can do. I don't know what injuries you might have. I don't know the environment that you're practicing in, if it's a slightly softer floor or a harder floor. So please just do what you can do. And if there's any kind of pain, please stop or go back to an easier level. Remember, yoga is always, supposed to be about yes, challenging yourself, but finding joy at the end of that challenge and peace at the end of that challenge, not pain and suffering. So please follow and listen to your body. And then, of course, today, if you have trouble getting up and down off of the floor, feel free to stay standing for about the first half of class when we're doing our standing poses. You don't need to go through the vinyasas, chaturanga, down dog, all that good stuff if you don't feel comfortable getting up and down off of the ground. And also feel free to grab a chair if you struggle with balance. Today is definitely going to be a little bit more balance heavy. And I did that on purpose because with COVID-19, our most at-risk population are those that are over 65. And I really want to be able to include those people in these classes, and those people tend to also really, really need balance in their lives. They're getting a little bit older, so anything like a fall could really damage their bodies and create a lasting negative impact on the way that they live their life. So today is going to be focused a lot on balance because I want that demographic of people to feel included in these videos. Remember, if you don't have traditional yoga blocks or yoga props at home, feel free to grab some toilet paper for your yoga block, a tie, a belt, or this is a hair tie for your strap, or I have some cat food for my bolster, but a nice firm pillow will work as well. Okay, let's go ahead and make our way to the mat. And start in a comfortable seated position. We're just going to start with some breaths to both kind of center our thoughts and relax and start to build a little heat. Come here, buddy. Oh boy, looks like we're sideways on Facebook. Give me just a moment. Sit and relax. All right, well, we're gonna deal with it however it works. It does not seem to like to be consistent with the orientation of the video. Okay, anyways, so back to your comfortable seated position. I like the bolster under my hips for a little extra height. That way, especially if you have a tight back or tight hips or tight hamstrings, you can sit up nice and tall. Yes, you can sit up tall too. So deep breaths, just starting to expand the breath. Maybe make each breath a little bit longer than the one before it. No special yogi styles of breathing yet, just nice, relaxed, long breaths. Trying to keep the breath balanced So the same amount of time inhaling as exhaling. Now start to add some heat to your breath. So for those of you that are more seasoned yogis, you can jump right into the Ujjayi style of breathing. But for those of you who are a little bit newer, try inhaling through the nose. And then exhale out the mouth as if you were fogging up a mirror. And you're going to write a little note in it. One more breath like that. In through the nose. Out through the mouth, feeling the heat roll across the tongue. Last time, out. Now you really want to keep that heat in the body. So you're going to feel the same sensation, but keep the lips sealed. The mouth still feels the heat build up, but there's nowhere for that heat to escape. And what you're doing is you're just slightly constricting the back of the throat, and you're really using your diaphragm and not your chest to create that heat. So the more you can engage the diaphragm, the more you'll start to actually engage the muscles and warm the body just with the breath. So one more Ujjayi breath here. And now I want you to go ahead and remove your prop, whatever it may be, and come onto all fours. And before we go into any kind of a cat-cow stretch, I want you to just feel that same breath. But notice the belly drop on the inhale. Exhale, squeeze the belly button towards the spine. One more time. Now add your cat-cow. So arching on your inhale, belly softens towards the ground. Exhale, squeeze the belly button towards the spine, drop the crown of the head. And now come on to your forearms, and you're going to do the same movement, but notice how the movement feels maybe a little different. Maybe you're getting into a different part of your back. Everybody has different shapes to their spine, different natural curves, and so therefore you put pressure in different places. So you want to kind of play with where you're doing the cat-cow, maybe lean forward a little bit, pushing into more of the upper back, or shift back a little bit, getting into the lower back. So play with your cat-cow to feel what works for your back. So come back to a neutral spine and lift up one leg. And first, find a nice square hip. So the hip is parallel to the ground, toes are pointed down towards the ground. And now I want you to roll it open so that it's stacked. And for those of you that have challenges with your balance, maybe you want to kick that back foot out so you create a little bit of a tripod to help you balance, bringing the hand up towards the sky. If this is too intense, you can always drop the foot and rest it on the ground. And if you want more, then bring that back foot in alignment with the body, and then maybe the hand over the head, trying to create one straight line with the top of the body. To add a little heat here, you can add a little core work, elbow to the knee, and extending, really focusing on the length. Exhale, contract. Inhale, extend back out. Try and keep the balance. One more breath here, and then release onto all fours. Find your balance on the other side, starting with a square hip, toes pointed down to the ground. Noticing how you feel here. You should still actually feel a little off balance because you're squaring the hip, you don't have it stacked yet. So then notice how it changes when you stack the hips, and then can you bring that hand off the ground? Dropping the foot if you need to, kicking the back foot out as a kickstand, or challenging yourself, extending through the side, maybe adding a little heat with the core work. Hold it here, one more inhale, and then exhale, rolling back to square, and then releasing the knee. Go ahead and take a couple more cat-cows if you want. You can do that jump rope movement if that feels good on your back. And then come back to flat, tuck the toes, and push into your first down dog. Keeping the knees bent at first, and really focusing on lengthening through the upper body. So the fingertips press into the ground. There's no weight or pressure on the wrists because your shoulders are pushed back. A lot of us have a tendency to try to do down dog like this, and our wrists get so tired so quickly. So push back to take that pressure off, and reach through the tailbone. Now if you want, you can start to walk the heels. Move with your breath, there's no rush here. Inhaling one heel, exhaling the other. Trying to make sure that when you press the heel down, that you don't allow the hip to roll out of its socket. You want to keep your hip in the socket. Yes, hi, I see you. And then go ahead and come back to a neutral position, letting both of the heels drop evenly towards the ground. One more inhale here. And then on your exhale, gently step forward to a forward fold. And for this first one, if you'd like, wrap the hands and just relax. Let the weight of the head and the weight of the arms pull you forward, keeping as much of a bend in the knees as you need. If the legs are straighter, start to play with your balance here. How does it feel when you roll forward into the balls of the feet or the heels? When you roll forward, are you like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna fall, I have to put the hands down? Or can you find that happy place where you can pick the heels up off the ground and not fall forward? Release the hands back down to the ground. And then roll yourself up nice and slow, squeezing the belly button to the spine, protecting your lower back. And then inhale up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, bring the feet closer together if they were a little bit wider, and hands to the sky. And then you're going to hook the thumbs. I'll turn sideways so that you can see. And you're going to push one hip to one side and drop the hands to the other side. So you can see you're counteracting your balance by putting weight in the hip and the weight in the hands. If you tried to do this with the hips straight, first of all, you wouldn't be able to get over quite as far. And if you did, you would start to fall and this foot would come up. So use the hip to counteract. And then on an exhale, come back to center. Hip goes to the other side first, and then drop the hands. And you're probably not going to go very far on these first few because you just don't have the warm-up in the spine yet, that lateral warm-up, to be able to reach. One more breath, and come back to center, Exhale, release the hands and fold forward. Inhale, flat back. And just like we did in table, we're gonna stay right here and play with your breath. Inhale, soften the belly. Exhale, squeeze the belly button towards the spine. Inhale. Exhale, squeeze. One more time. Inhale. And then this time, exhale, roll forward. Inhale, rise back up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale. One more time. We're going to go through actually 2 different versions of half moon today. So this is our first one. Just holding in a breath to one side, exhaling to center, and then inhaling to the other side, exhaling to center. One of the reasons that I have you always inhale as you reach is because it expands the abdomen and that part of your body and allows you to have a little bit more stability there. And then exhale to come back to center. Inhale, create that stability through your spine, and exhale back. One more breath, nice and tall, maybe a teeny tiny back bend, and fold forward again. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. We're gonna inhale to plank, so if you are not going up and off the ground, you can just stay up with your chair. So for this first one, I'm gonna actually pretend like I have a chair. So for those of you who do not, go ahead and inhale back to plank. For those of you with a chair, just stay right here. And then with a chaturanga, you can always do a little push-up with your chair, and then come back to kind of a downward dog shape. So you'll notice I have a little bit of an L with my body here, even though I'm pretending I have a chair. Well, in down dog, I have pretty much that same angle. There's just a little bit more pressure on my upper body. A few nice big breaths here. Maybe instead of walking the heels out, maybe you play with the toes. Reach up, stretch out the back, back down. Maybe if you have the flexibility on the toe knuckles, please don't do this if you're not comfortable. One more breath. And on your next exhale, gently step forward to a forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, rise on up. And back to your heart center. Inhale. Hook the thumbs. One hip goes to one side, hands go to the other side, just for the inhale. Exhale to center. Inhale to the other side. Exhale, center. And then release, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, hands down. And step back to plank. Now remember your options here if you are going to go through chaturanga and a vinyasa. If you want, you can always bring your knees down to the ground and push through maybe cobra, up dog, down dog. If the issue is not necessarily strength, but you just have a little bit, it's too much for your wrists, come onto your elbows for plank, gently drop into Sphinx, and then push yourself back to dolphin instead of down dog. So lots of options. And this time, we're gonna go into our first warrior one. So pick up one foot and keep the toes flexed and pointed to the ground so that the hips stay square, as opposed to letting the hips roll open. So traditionally, we keep our hips square. Having them open feels good every once in a while, but you want to not necessarily do that every single time. And on an exhale, bring the foot through, Back heels come to about a 45-degree angle and rise up warrior one. So a couple things here. Back foot should be at about a 45-degree angle. If this is too intense on your hip flexor, walk it farther out. If it's too intense strength-wise, you can come up a little bit, but try not to cheat too much. Try to keep that knee forward. And then if you want a little bit more intensity, palms come together and look straight up past your thumb. Abs are still nice and tight because we don't want to dump into the lower back. We're not trying to reach behind us. We're not trying to create a back bend right now. You want to open up the hip so abs stay tight, and maybe if you have the flexibility to look up. But everything should be pushing up rather than dumping back. One more breath. And if you want, you can go through a vinyasa, or you can just simply switch the feet and roll over to the other side. Each side is different, so one hip might be fine, the other hip might be very uncomfortable, so adjust accordingly. One more breath here, making sure you're not dumping into the back ankle. Try to keep the weight on all four corners of the foot. And then when you're ready, exhale, and either make your way back to the front of your mat, or if you were already there because you did a vinyasa and you'd like to take another one, go ahead and flow through that vinyasa. Totally an option. Don't ever feel like you have to do the vinyasa. It's a good way to build heat if you're going to get into a lot of intense stretching poses later in your class. But if you just don't have the strength yet, you can always skip it. So this time I'm going to go with the opposite foot. And on an exhale, bring it through. And we're going to go into warrior two. So windmill hands up this time. Your heel should intersect with the arch of the back foot. And I want you to make sure to relax the shoulders away from the ears and really reach through the fingertips. So a lot of people think warrior two, oh, I do this every day, it's easy. So they're like chilling in warrior two. No spaghetti arms unless it's uncooked spaghetti. Straight arms, long and strong. Making sure that your front knee isn't rolling in, which we have a tendency to do, especially if we have tight hips. So pull that back out. One more breath here, and then your choice. Do you want to flow through another vinyasa, or are you going to stay standing and you just want to switch sides? So in a lot of these standing poses, I like to pretend like there's electrified fencing or something on either side of my body. So if I start to let my hips roll open or I start to relax the arms, you're going to get electrocuted from either side, right? So keep it nice and flat as though you're working in a single plane with your body. One more breath here. And on your exhale, making your way back to the front, maybe taking another vinyasa. And breathe here in down dog. Take 3 breaths here. Again, you can play with the feet if you want, if you really want to focus on opening up the Achilles and the calves. You can play with the toes, or you can just find stillness. So once again, on the inhale, pick up one foot, toes down, hips stay square, and exhale, bring it through. We're gonna windmill up to warrior two. Inhale, and on your exhale, we're gonna reverse the warrior. So the back hand slides down the back thigh, and the front hand goes straight up to the sky first. So the reason I want you to go straight up to the sky is because I want you to not collapse too much on this back end. A lot of times we all try to get there so quick because we're using it as a transitioning pose. So we collapse and reach, and only focus on the top side rather than trying to keep length in both sides. So start here, and if you still have the range of motion, you can reach a little further. Continue to sink into that front leg. One more breath. And on your exhale, use your core strength to come back to center. And then we're gonna switch sides. Take a vinyasa if you want. Sink into warrior two first. And then tilt back. So no pressure should be on your knee. So you can either keep the hand on the thigh or down to the calf. Or if you've just really done this a million times and you feel super confident and you want to go into the unsupported version, take that hand behind your back. Continue sinking into that front leg. Don't let it cheat straight. I know that's a hard thing for all of us. One more breath. And on your exhale, come back to warrior two. All right, go ahead and come back to standing, making your way to the front of the mat, taking a vinyasa if you want, or just taking a few breaths, standing. And then find your version of down dog. So one of the reasons that I included reverse warrior as kind of a balance pose is because your gaze is towards the sky. And anytime you take your gaze away from the ground or something on the horizon, it challenges your balance. So keep that in mind. With any pose that you're doing, even if you have 2 feet on the ground, if you can take your gaze up towards the sky, it will create a little bit more of a challenge with your balance. Okay, so now I'm going to lift the opposite foot so you can see the back. On an exhale, bring it through. And again, windmill up, warrior two. So this time, on an exhale, we're going to reach forward. Again, trying to keep length in the bottom side, not dumping into it. And we're going to go into extended side angle. So just drop the elbow so that it's barely touching the knee. We're not putting any weight on it, barely touching. Start with the hand first, straight to the sky. And then if you can, palm comes towards the ground, reach the bicep towards the ear. Extend both sides of the body. And again, bring your gaze up to the sky if you'd like to challenge your balance. Now, if you want more, you can always drop the hand to the inside of the foot, or you can go for the bind. If you go for the bind, your top shoulder should still be pointing straight towards the sky. So go ahead and release back to that first extended side angle, and exhale to warrior two. Take another vinyasa if you want, or switch sides and sink into warrior two on the other side. When you're ready, reach forward and barely tap that knee to the elbow. Start with the other hand, the floating hand to the sky, and then maybe extend over. If you have neck problems, keep looking down to the ground rather than looking up. Looking up challenges your balance, but it tends to be a little bit uncomfortable on your neck. If you want more, hand down to the ground, or go ahead and try to reach for that bind. Now, if you're working towards the bind and you just can't quite get there, grab your strap. And reach for the strap instead. That way you can still keep alignment in the shoulder and you can start to work the hands a little bit closer. So come back to that starting extended side angle, exhaling to warrior two, and then find your way back to the front of the mat. Maybe take the vinyasa, your choice. And rest here for 3 breaths. On your next exhale, gently step forward, inhaling to half lift, exhaling, folding down, and then inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands to your heart. So make sure you have enough room. You might need to step more into the center of your mat. And we're going to go into our second version of half moon, which is a much, much more challenging balance pose. So you might want to have one of your blocks available. Inhale. And we'll start first with our first version. Just a drop to one side, exhaling center, and then to the other side. Back to center on the exhale. If you want that extra little back bend, and then fold forward. So to start, we're going to keep one hand to the ground, soften the opposite knee, and reach up. Just trying to create nice long airplane wings with your arms. Release to center, relax the head and neck, and then the other side. Release to center, relax the head and neck. So now, maybe taking your block, we're going to reach up again, and then pick up one foot, and start to reach it behind you. Trying to bring that foot parallel with the ground. So this is the other version of half moon. And I'll be honest, this side is not good for me. It really is challenging on my hip. So for me, I'm gonna come out of it because I'm gonna say that hip's not happy. I'm not going to do it anymore and try to push myself into something that doesn't work for today. So if that's you and you're like, look, I just cannot do it on this side, come back down onto your mat like we did at the very beginning of class. Oh my gosh, it's the exact same thing, right? Huh, funny how that works in yoga. All right, bring the hand and the foot back down to the ground. Forward fold, relaxing head and neck. Maybe wrapping the elbows if you want. And then let's try the other side. So bring the block with you on the other side if you need it. Starting with the hand. Reach with the hand and pull the hip up. Stacking the hip as much as you can, trying to keep the foot parallel with the ground. This side's so much better. Now, ideally, you would have no weight on that floating hand, so that's something to work towards. And then again, challenge your balance, bring your gaze up. As soon as you bring your gaze up away from the sky or away from the ground, Oh, it becomes so much harder. One more breath. And then release back down. Wrap the elbows and hang. Yay. On your next inhale, rise back up. Mountain, exhaling the hands to your heart center. So we're gonna do the same thing, but now we're gonna add a hold or a bind. So I'm gonna come back down to the ground again because this hip's not having it today. But you can do the same thing standing. So find your half moon, whatever you need to do to get into it. And then reach for that back foot and lift up, creating a little bit of a back bend as well. So definitely easier on the ground. You have that bottom leg to create the tripod with. But not so easy that you won't fall. Really use your core. The stronger your core is, the easier it will be to hold. Gently release, try to keep the balance, and then come back down to the ground, come to your forward fold, or tabletop if you are on your knees. Take a breath, relax. You don't need to rush to the other side. When you're ready, find your balance on the other side, half moon first. And then bend the floating leg, reach for the foot, and try to create a little bit of a back bend. Continue to breathe. Make sure you're not holding your breath. If you're holding your breath, it's too much. Take it to an easier level. And then gently release, try to keep your balance. And then come back down, either all fours or into your forward fold. Now if you're on all fours, take a few cat-cow stretches, so that arch and that round in the back. If you're in a forward fold, go ahead and inhale back up. Exhale to your heart. And then it's your choice if you want to take one more version of this half moon. Little back bend if you'd like. And then fold. And everyone is going to meet in down dog. However you want to get there. If you want to take another vinyasa, awesome. If you want to jump right to down dog, that's awesome too. 3 breaths here. On your next breath, gently come to a seated position. And if you have been doing everything standing and with a chair, we are going to stay on the ground for the rest of the class, so you can go ahead and make your way down to a seated position. Okay, so the number one thing that will help you with balance is to have a strong core. So we're going to do a little core work and a little balance work. So first what I want you to do is start with the feet together. And I know this is a hip opener, but that's not really what we're thinking about right now. So wrap your hands around the foot. And first I want you to sit up as tall as you can. And notice that the weight of the feet is going to pull your shoulders away from your ears, and you're going to get an amazing stretch down the neck. If you sit at a chair a lot, or if you're just a really high stress person, this is going to feel so good. It's probably my favorite sensation ever, more so than Shavasana. It feels so good. Now, if you can, start to lean back and pick the feet up off the ground. Find a nice flat back. You're still letting the weight of the feet in your hands pull your shoulders away from the ears. But instead of rolling forward to find your balance, you're going to roll the shoulder blades onto the back to find a nice flat back. So a lot of you are going to be wobbling back and forth, trying to find that center of balance. Think like an engineer building a bridge. You want the weight of your feet to pull you in one direction, but you want your shoulder blades to pull you in the other direction so that you find offsetting forces. Keep breathing and using the strength of the exhale to keep your balance. And then from here, take one foot, either the outside of the foot, a yogi toe lock, or your strap, and extend that foot out. Release that foot back to center, and then find your other foot. Again, you can hold on to the side of the foot, yogi toe lock, or grab your strap and extend out. And the focus is not so much on getting the legs straight, the focus is on keeping your balance while doing so. So really continue to pull the shoulder blades down the back so you're not collapsing into your back. And keep pulling the belly button towards the spine with every exhale. Release back down. If you need to, you can rest the feet on the ground, or if you'd like, try both feet. Pulling the shoulders into their sockets, shoulder blades down the back, reaching through the crown of the head, not the chin. And then release back down. So we did a lot of side stretching today, so we're going to do a little bit more of that. Open up the feet wide, as wide as is comfortable for you. And take a big inhale first to find a nice long straight back. Exhale, release the hands without releasing the back. And now work with your breath to fold forward. So inhale through the crown of the head. Exhale, sigh, and let your body fall where it may. Notice I'm not collapsing forward. I'm not pulling myself forward. I'm keeping a nice flat back, but I'm using my exhale to go a little bit farther. We didn't do a lot of opening in the inner thighs and hips, so you may not be able to go that far forward. That's fine. That's not the focus here. We want to just first ease our hips open a little bit, and then we're going to walk our way over to one side. Now, if this is too intense for you, bring the opposite foot in so that you're not reaching through that side of the body. And we're going to take the same hand as that foot and bring it to the inside of your ankle and the inside of your knee. And then you're going to inhale up, reaching first straight up, finding the alignment with your shoulders. And then if you have the openness, reaching over the head, and then maybe reaching for the big toe. Now, if you want a little bit more intensity, but you can't reach the big toe, use your strap. The number one thing I want you to remember here, though, is that the shoulders should stay stacked, and wherever you are with this hand, you should be able to see past your floating arm or your upper arm. If you can't, then that means you need to ease back out of it a little bit, find the alignment again, and then you can ease open a little further and start to reach for the toe. One more breath here, and exhale, use your core to come back to center, and switch legs. So you can keep this leg out if you want. We're gonna first try to align the upper body. Think about aligning your sternum with your thigh. It's not easy, but try to shift that way first. And then without letting your sternum shift back to the center, just roll yourself open. So same hand and elbow, go to the inside of the ankle and the knee, reaching up first, and then exhaling over. Continue to breathe, feeling the expansion in between the ribs when you inhale and exhale, the ease of opening up a little bit further. Not forcing it, just using your breath. Go ahead and come back up on your exhale. Open that leg one more time, and we're going to fold forward one more time, and I want you to notice how it feels. Can you go forward a lot farther? Are you in the exact same place? There's no right or wrong, just how does it feel? So start with that inhale. And exhale, hands come down first. Inhale, lengthening the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. Sighing and easing forward. Two more breaths here. Gently walk yourself back up to upright. Take your hands underneath the knees and gently bring them together. And then if you're like me and you're sideways on your mat, go ahead and face the front of your mat again, and we're gonna gently roll down. And you wanna go as slow as you can, one vertebrae at a time, as though you were tick-tock, realigning the spine as you go down. So we're gonna go into a few back bends now, really gentle back bends. So bring your feet in a little bit closer to your hips. And on your exhale, I want you to round first your spine into the ground. So you're pushing the lower back, taking that arch out, pushing the lower back into the ground. And then inhale, arch away from the ground so that you could slip your hand underneath your back. Exhale, round, tailbone lifts up off the ground. Squeeze with your belly, pushing your spine to the ground. Inhale, arch. And then this time on your exhale, pick up the hips. So start with the hands on the ground, and I want you to now bring your focus to your neck. So we have a tendency to try to lift so much of our weight up onto our shoulders and then onto our neck that we push our chin into the neck and really press the back of the neck into the ground. We don't want that. So instead, lift your chin a little bit away from the chest and try to pull, think about if your head was in like a vice or something and the entire head was pulling an inch towards the opposite side of the room. The chin is neutral and you're just trying to lengthen the neck. So you can be in bridge without any pressure on the neck. Go ahead and roll back down. And then we're going to do that one more time. Tuck the tailbone, roll up into bridge. This time rolling the shoulders under, interlocking the fingers and pressing the pinky fingers to the ground. Continuing to find length. So you're finding length in the neck by reaching through the crown of the head, but you should also be finding length as though there was lasers shooting out of your kneecaps, so that you have one flat line from your shoulders through your rib cage, through your hips, and out through your knees. Go ahead and release the hands, roll the shoulders back to flat, and roll down one vertebrae at a time, trying to make the lower back reach the mat before your tailbone. And then we're going to do that one more time. Now, for those of you who are newer to yoga, I would encourage you to grab your blocks and do a supported bridge. So, you'll take your blocks and bring them right underneath your tailbone. And you can just rest right here. So there's no effort, just letting the blood flow back through your heart and your head without any effort. Or if you sit at a desk a lot and you have really tight hip flexors, maybe try reaching the legs out and creating a little bit more openness in your hip flexors. Now, for those of you who would like a more active back bend, you can come into wheel pose. So hands come, fingers facing the front of your mat, elbows towards the sky, right next to your ears. And then some people like to push up onto the crown of their head first. I personally hate that. So it's up to you, however you'd like to push up into wheel. But the thing that I want you to think about is, where are your feet pointing? If the toes are pointed out, pick them up and come in just a little bit so that you feel pigeon-toed. And make sure you can breathe. Whichever version you're in, gently, gently come back down, trying to roll the spine to the ground, one vertebrae at a time. And now we're going to bring the knees to our chest and rock side to side to give yourself that massage in the lower back. Come back to center and bring your hands to a T, and we're going to just gently drop the knees to one side. And notice how it feels if you bring the knees a little bit lower towards the bottom of your mat, or bringing the knees a little higher. Where does it feel in your back? Just like we played with cat-cow at the beginning of class, on your forearms, shifting forward, shifting back. Where do you feel the twist, and where does it work for you by shifting where the knees are on the ground? Or maybe you want to extend the legs, and how does that feel? Whichever variation of the twist you choose, just continue to breathe, maybe letting the gaze roll to the opposite hand. Using your exhales to roll the belly button towards the sky, which will allow the opposite shoulder to relax to the ground. And then when you're ready, soften the knees and exhale, squeeze the belly button to the spine to come back to center. Go ahead and release the knees to the other side. And first play with where the knees are on the ground. What feels good on your back? What do you need? Especially after those back bends, especially if you went into the deeper version, if you went to wheel. What feels good on your back? Again, you have the option to extend the legs if that works for you. I actually quite like that on this side because there's a wall there, and so it's kind of like a supported version. Two more breaths on this side. And then soften the knees, and on your exhale, use your core to come back to center. Allow the knees to drop wide and bring the soles of the feet towards the sky for happy baby. This will be our final pose before we go into Shavasana. Now, you can rock side to side. This is what I see most people doing. That's fine. I actually really like to stay static and try to roll my tailbone towards the ground without changing anything on where my hands are holding my feet. Just that simple, probably half an inch roll with my tailbone really changes how this feels for me, and it takes away any kind of tension in my lower back. So play with happy baby too and see what feels good for you. You don't have to hold to the sides of the feet. If you don't have that flexibility, you can always hold the ankles or the calves. And then bring the soles of the feet together, just like we did seated. Wrap your hands around the feet and allow the weight of the feet to pull into the hands and pull the shoulders away from the neck and the ears. You can stay here as long as you'd like, or if you would prefer, you can drop the soles of the feet to the ground, coming into goddess pose. Whatever you choose to do, try to stay here no longer than about 3 breaths, because I do want you to go right into Shavasana. So once you're ready and you have done whatever extra little pose that you need to do for your body, go ahead and release the feet out, so that the feet and the hips all roll open naturally. And then relax the hands, maybe at the sides of the body. And let everything melt into the ground. So the first thing that I always notice is my fingers start to curl in. I'm not trying to keep a nice open palm anymore. I usually need to tuck my shoulder blades under my body just a little bit more to feel comfortable with the natural curve of my spine. And then I want you to bring your focus to your face. Relax all the worry lines. Let the jaw go slack. And breathe your regular, normal breath. No heat. Nothing special, just gentle inhales and exhales. The natural rise and fall of the chest. Go ahead and start to wake yourself up. Wiggle the fingers and toes. Maybe roll over onto one side. You can always stay in Shavasana if you'd like. Or if you're ready, push up to a comfortable seated position. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed class. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock for all levels vinyasa flow. Namaste.